Revenge with Karen.
I smell jet fuel the way other women smell fear. It's a distinct scent, part kerosene, part burnt rubber, and part the realization that you're sitting on top of highly flammable liquid inside a pressurized aluminum tube, moving at 500 miles per hour. God, I love it. But today I hate it. Today, I'm not in the left seat. I'm not Captain Rachel Monroe, woman who can land a Boeing 777 in a crosswind that would make a Jesuit priest start speaking in tongues. Today, I'm just Rachel in seat 4A, dead-heading back to Dallas in plain clothes, because my rotation schedule is a disaster that looks like it was drawn by a toddler with a caffeine addiction. I'm wearing a denim jacket that's seen more turbulence than a Kardashian marriage and jeans that are holding on for dear life. My uniform, stripes, the hat, the authority, is hanging in a garment bag in the forward closet, totally invisible. And apparently, so am I. I walked onto the Gulfstream G650. This isn't your standard cattle-class Southwest flight where you fight for overhead bin space like it's the last chopper out of Saigon. This is corporate charter. The 1%. The people who think TSA pre-check is for peasants. I was assigned this seat by the company because they needed me in DFW by midnight to take a cargo hauler to Frankfurt. I just wanted to sit down, close my eyes, and pretend I didn't exist for 3 hours. That's when he walked in. Let's call him Miles. You know Miles. Miles is 22, wearing a suit that cost more than my first car, but fits him like he borrowed it from his dad. He's got that haircut that screams, intern at a hedge fund and my personality is an Excel spreadsheet. He was loud. The kind of loud that pierces through noise-canceling headphones. He was on his phone, FaceTime, naturally, holding it out like he was filming a documentary about his own greatness. Yeah, bro, I'm telling you, the itinerary is set. I got the window. Executive row. Big leagues now, Miles barked into his phone. Even the pilots gotta listen to me now, basically. I'm the liaison. I own the sky. I looked up from my iPad. My eyes felt like they had sand in them. I've been flying for 20 years. I've missed birthdays, anniversaries, and funerals to keep birds in the air safely. And this kid, who looks like he exfoliates with money, thinks he owns the sky. Hey, real quick, before my blood pressure spikes, and I blow a gasket narrating this disaster. If you're into stories about corporate clowns getting absolutely destroyed by the people they underestimate, do me a favor and hit subscribe button. Maybe drop a like. It keeps the coffee brewing and the rage focused. All right, back to the clown show. Miles ended his call and looked at me. He stopped. He frowned. It was the frown of a man who just found a raisin in his artisanal potato salad. He looked at his boarding pass, then at the empty seat next to me. Back at me? Excuse me, he said. No, he didn't say it. He sneered it. It was a vocal fry sneer. I think you're in the wrong section. I didn't move. I didn't blink. I just slowly lowered my iPad. Seat 4A, I said. My voice was raspy, the result of 12 hours of recycled cabin air and 3 cups of airport sludge masquerading as coffee. Yeah, but this is the executive row, Miles said, gesturing vaguely at the beige leather seats that cost more than a kidney transplant. The back is for support staff or whatever. He looked me up and down, saw the denim, saw the boots, saw the lack of a lanyard or a Gucci bag. In his mind, I was probably the cleaning lady who got lost, or maybe a mistress being shipped home economy style. I'm assigned here, I said, turning back to my screen. I wasn't going to play games. I just wanted to sleep. Look, lady, Miles scoffed, shifting his weight. He was blocking the aisle. Behind him, other passengers were starting to pile up, but Miles didn't care. My mentor, Mr. Lang, is sitting right there. He pointed to the seat across the aisle, 4B. We have business to discuss. Important business. You're going to be in the way. Maybe you should go find a stewardess and ask if there's a jump seat in the back near the toilet. You'd be more comfortable. My grip on the iPad tightened. Mr. Lang. Travis Lang. The name hit me like a bird strike on a windshield. I looked past Miles' cheap cologne aura, which smelled like desperation and Axe body spray, and saw him. Travis Lang, Senior VP of Fleet Operations. The man sat there, reading a Wall Street Journal, ignoring the commotion. He looked exactly the same as the last time I saw him, 6 months ago. Slicked back silver hair, a suit that didn't wrinkle, and the cold, dead eyes of a shark that eats other sharks for fun. Travis didn't recognize me. Why would he? To him, pilots are just bus drivers with better hats. And without the hat, I was just background noise. A complication. Miles leaned in closer, invading my personal space. Did you hear me? Move to economy. This row is for executives. I felt that familiar burn in my chest. It wasn't just anger. It was the specific, high-octane rage of a professional who's being talked down to by an amateur. I looked at Miles, really looked at him. I saw the sweat on his upper lip. I saw the insecurity masking itself as dominance. I'm not moving, I said softly. What? Miles laughed, a sharp, barking sound. You want me to call the crew? Have you dragged off? Go ahead, I said, call them. I waited. I watched. I was measuring him, calculating the distance between his ego and reality. Long drop. And I was about to be gravity. But not yet. Protocol, always protocol. Travis finally looked up. He glanced at Miles, then at me. His eyes slid over me like I was a piece of furniture. Miles, Travis said. His voice was smooth like oil on water. Don't make a scene. Just sit down. If she wants to play pretend executive for a few hours, let her. We have real work to do. Miles smirked. A nasty, victorious little twist of his lips. He shoved past my knees, deliberately knocking his heavy carry-on into my shin, and flopped into the seat next to me. Fine, he muttered. But don't expect me to make small talk, and don't ask for a selfie. I turned my head to the window. The tarmac was gray and wet. The engines were spooling up, that high-pitched whine that usually calms me down. But today, it sounded like a warning siren. They had no idea who was sitting in seat 4A, had no idea that I wasn't just a passenger. I was the ghost of their past mistakes, and I had a front row seat to their funeral. To understand why I didn't just throat punch Miles right there in the cabin, you have to understand the hangar. You have to understand the grease. Flashback, 6 months ago. Houston, it was 3:00 a.m., the kind of darkness that feels heavy, like a wet wool blanket. I was in Hangar 4, standing under the belly of a Boeing 737-800. My hands were covered in black grime, and I was staring at a slat actuator assembly, the mechanism that controls the moving parts on the wing leading edge. I wasn't supposed to be there. Captains don't usually crawl around in wheel wells with flashlights. We sit in the air conditioning and drink coffee, right? Wrong. I started as a mechanic in the Air Force before I ever learned to fly. I know what a plane looks like when it's sick. And this bird, she was terminal. I had flown her in from Chicago earlier that night. The controls felt mushy. There was a vibration in the yoke during descent that shouldn't have been there. A subtle shudder, like a shiver running down a spine. Most pilots would have written it off as turbulence or wind shear. But I knew better. The machine talks to you if you listen, so I went down to check. And what I found made my blood run cold. Maintenance log said the slat actuators had been replaced 3 weeks ago. Brand new OEM parts. Signed off, stamped, approved. But when I shone my flashlight on the serial numbers, they were worn, scratched. There was corrosion on the mounting bolts that takes years to accumulate. These weren't new parts. They were gray market salvage. Junk pulled off a decommissioned plane in a desert boneyard, polished up, slapped onto a passenger jet carrying 180 souls. I took photos, dozens of them. I pulled the logs. I traced the signature. It went back to a third-party vendor that Travis Lang had personally approved, a vendor known for being cost-effective. That's corporate speak for cheap and dangerous. The next morning, I marched into the ops center. I didn't sleep. I slammed the file onto the desk of the chief pilot, demanding a meeting with fleet ops. Travis Lang walked in 20 minutes later. He didn't look at the photos. He didn't look at the corroded bolts. He looked at his watch. Captain Monroe, he said, his voice dripping with that patronizing calm that makes you want to commit felonies. You're tired. You've been flying back-to-backs. You're seeing ghosts. I'm seeing fraud, Travis, I snapped. Those parts are illegal. If that actuator seizes on approach, we roll the plane. Everyone dies. Is a direct violation of FAA AD 2023-45 regarding counterfeit components. Travis sighed. He picked up my report, glanced at it, and then dropped it into the recycling bin. It's a paperwork error, Rachel. A clerical mix-up. The parts are certified. We have the certificates. The certificates are fake, I yelled. I never yell, but I was shaking. I saw the rust, Travis. You can't fake rust. He stepped closer to me. He lowered his voice. We are in the middle of a merger, Rachel. The stock price is sensitive. We don't need hysterical pilots running around screaming about rust. We need team players. Are you a team player, or do you need some time off? Maybe a psychological evaluation? Stress leave? There it was. The threat. The gaslighting. He was telling me that if I pushed this, he wouldn't fire me for being a whistleblower. That's illegal. No, he'd ground me for being mentally unstable, ruin my medical certification. He'd take my wings. I know what you're doing, I whispered. Good, Travis said, smiling. Then we understand each other. Go home, Rachel, get some sleep, focus on flying. Leave the business to the adults. I was reassigned the next day, moved from the premium international routes to domestic cargo runs. The punishment roster. The report disappeared. The plane kept flying. I sat in my car in the parking lot that day and cried, out of sadness, out of impotent radioactive rage. I swore then that I would nail him. I didn't know how and I didn't know when. I just knew that physics always wins in the end. You can cheat the logs, but you can't cheat gravity. Back in the Gulf Stream, present day. I looked at Travis across the aisle. He was sipping a sparkling water, looking so clean, so respectable. He had risked hundreds of lives to save 12% on quarterly maintenance costs. He had gotten a promotion for it. Miles kicked my foot again. Hey, do you have a charger? My battery is dying and I don't want to dig in my bag. I looked at the intern. The spawn of the system that created Travis. No, I said, I don't. I touched the pocket of my denim jacket. Inside, resting against my heart, was a small, encrypted USB drive. It wasn't a charger. It was a grave, and I was about to start digging. The cabin stewardess, a young woman named Sarah, who looked like she was trying very hard not to scream into a pillow, brought the drinks. Miles didn't say thank you. He just snatched the crystal tumbler of scotch, at 10 o'clock a.m., mind you, and swirled it around like he was auditioning for a villain role in a Bond movie. So, Mr. Lang, Miles started, his voice loud enough to be heard in the cockpit. About the Omega contract. I was looking at the specs you sent over. Defense sector requirements are rigorous. Travis put down his paper. He looked annoyed that Miles was speaking, but he indulged him. Mentoring the youth or whatever. Rigorous is a word for lawyers, Miles. In operations, we deal in realities. What's the reality of the supply chain right now? It's choked, Miles recited, clearly parroting something he heard on CNBC. Titanium shortages. Lead times are out 6 months. Exactly, Travis nodded. The client needs the retrofit done in 2. So, if the OEM titanium is 6 months out, but we need to deliver in 2, what do? I froze. I was staring at my iPad, pretending to play Candy Crush, but every muscle in my body was tuned to their frequency. This was it. This was the playbook. We source alternatives, Miles asked, grinning. He felt smart. He felt like he was part of the inner circle. We find legacy stock, Travis corrected. There's a supplier in Arizona. They have surplus titanium sheeting from the 90s. It's not certified for the new stress loads, technically. The metallurgy is slightly different, but he swirled his water. It looks the same. It weighs the same. And it's available today. And the certification? Miles asked, lowering his voice to a conspiratorial whisper that was still completely audible. We have a guy, Travis said dismissively. A consultant. He handles the paperwork bridging, creates a historical trail. It satisfies the auditors. My stomach turned. Historical trail. That was code for forgery. They were doing it again. But this wasn't just commercial jets this time. Defense sector. They were talking about military contracts, government planes, soldiers. That's genius, Miles said, his eyes wide with adoration. That saves, what, $2 million on the bottom line? 4, Travis corrected. And it hits this quarter's bonus pool. High five, boss, Miles said, actually raising his hand. Travis ignored the high five, but he smirked. I felt a cold sweat break out on the back of my neck. This was bigger than I thought. Travis wasn't just a corrupt middle manager, he was a systemic infection. He was teaching this kid, this blank slate of an intern, that fraud is just business strategy. Miles leaned back, flushed with the thrill of white-collar crime. He turned to me, needing someone to witness his ascent to power. You hear that? Asked me, slurring slightly from the scotch. That's how the big dogs eat. You probably worry about coupons at the grocery store. We worry about millions. Sounds risky, I said, keeping my voice flat. Using old parts for new planes. Miles laughed. Risky? Lady, life is risk. You think the guy flying this plane cares where the bolts came from? He just pushes buttons. We're the ones who make it happen. We're the visionaries. The guy flying this plane just pushes buttons. I looked at the cockpit door. Behind it were 2 pilots, likely focused on the weather radar, checking fuel flows, monitoring the hydraulic pressure. They were trusting the machine, trusting the maintenance, trusting Travis. You seem very confident, I said. Confidence is key, Miles said, winking. Mr. Lang says that if you act like you own the place, nobody questions you. It's all about perception. Perception is reality. Pulled a USB stick out of his pocket and twirled it in his fingers. All the specs are on here, the legacy data. I'm supposed to upload it to the secure server when we land. Rewrite history, baby. He dropped the USB stick. It clattered onto the console between us. Whoops, he giggled, slippery little sucker. He fumbled for it, his coordination failing him. It slid down the side of the seat, wedging near my hip. Get that for me, would ya? He commanded, snapping his fingers at me. I looked at the drive, black plastic, unassuming. Inside that little stick was the smoking gun, the proof of intent, the historical trail. Sure, I said. I reached down. My hand brushed the cool plastic. I didn't hand it to him immediately. I held it for a second. Here, I said, handing it back. But not before I memorized the brand and the scratched logo on the side. Not before I realized that Miles, in his arrogance, was the leak I had been waiting for. Thanks, he grunted, shoving it back into his pocket. Try to be useful, right? That's your role, my role, I repeated quietly. Right, the plane banked. We were climbing through 10,000 feet. The seatbelt sign dinged off. Travis stood up and stretched. I'm going to use the lavatory. Miles, don't talk to the help. It discourages them. Travis walked past me. He didn't even look down. I waited until the lavatory door clicked shut. I unbuckled. Where are you going? Miles asked, suspicious. Toilets occupied. Just stretching, I said, leg cramps. I walked to the galley. Sarah, the flight attendant, was prepping coffee. She looked up, startled to see a passenger in the workspace. Ma'am, can I get you something? She asked, putting on her customer service mask. I leaned in close. I dropped the tired passenger act. My posture straightened. My eyes locked onto hers with a terrifying intensity. My name is Captain Rachel Monroe, I said, my voice steel. I need you to pass a message to the cockpit. Tell Captain Reynolds that the ghost is on board, and tell him to check his car's messages immediately. Sarah blinked. She looked confused, then scared, then recognition dawned. She had heard the rumors. Every crew member had. Captain Monroe, she whispered. Do it, I said, now. And don't let the man in 4B see you. Thing about Gulfstreams is that they handle turbulence differently than the Big Iron. In a 777, you plow through the bumps like a cruise ship hitting a wave. In a corporate jet, it's sports car suspension. You feel the road. We hit clear air turbulence over the Ozarks. The coffee in Sarah's pot jumped an inch. The cabin lurched. It wasn't dangerous, just a thermal chop, but to a civilian, it feels like the hand of God slapping the fuselage. Miles yelped, actually yelped. He grabbed the armrest so hard his knuckles turned white. His scotch splashed onto his cheap suit pants. Whoa, what the hell is that? He shouted, looking around wildly. Are they driving this thing or what? Travis returned from the lavatory, stumbling slightly as the floor tilted. He looked annoyed rather than scared. It's just air, Miles. Calm down. You look pathetic. I sat perfectly still. My body moved with the plane, compensating instinctively. I knew exactly what was happening, a pressure differential front. We'd be out of it in 90 seconds. It feels like we're falling. Miles whined. He hit the call button, ding, 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 repeatedly. Sarah hurried out of the galley, balancing herself against the bulkhead. Sir, please keep your seatbelt fastened. We are experiencing some chop. Get me another drink, Miles demanded, and tell the pilots to smooth it out. I'm paying a fortune for this chart. I expect a smooth ride. Can't control the weather, sir, Sarah said, her voice tight. She glanced at me quickly, a microscopic nod. She had delivered the message. Well, fly around it, Miles snapped. What are we paying them for? I watched Sarah's jaw tighten. She was young, maybe 24. She didn't deserve this abuse from a glorified coffee fetcher in a suit. Sir, the captain has the seatbelt sign on. I cannot serve beverages right now, Sarah said firmly. Miles unbuckled. This is ridiculous. Go tell them myself. He started to stand up. The plane dropped 50 feet in a sudden downdraft. Miles went weightless for a split second, then slammed back down into his seat hard. Sit down, you idiot, I barked. It came out before I could stop it. The command voice. The voice that cuts through engine noise and panic. Miles stared at me, shocked. Excuse me? Who do you think? You're unsecured in a pressurized tube navigating a convective system, I said, eyes drilling into him. Sit down, buckle up, and shut your mouth before you break your neck, and I have to fill out the paperwork. Travis looked at me then, really looked at me. For the first time, the tired woman in denim filter slipped. He saw the eyes. He saw the cadence. He recognized the tone, even if he didn't place the face yet. You know a lot of technical terms for tourist, Travis said slowly. I watch a lot of Discovery Channel, I lied, leaning back. Buckle him up, Travis. He's a liability. Travis stared at me for a beat longer, suspicion clouding his shark eyes. Then he turned to Miles. "Do as she says, you're embarrassing me." Miles sulked, clicking his buckle. "Whatever. Service on this flight is trash anyway." The cockpit chime rang, a distinct two-tone pattern. Sarah picked up the interphone in the galley. She listened, said yes, Captain, and hung up. She walked down the aisle past Miles and stopped at my seat. He held a tray with a single glass of water and a napkin. "For you, ma'am," she said. "I didn't order water," I said. "Compliments of the flight deck," she said softly. I took the napkin. On the underside, written in ballpoint pen, were coordinates and a frequency, and 2 words, "We are listening." I wiped my mouth with the napkin, concealing the text. I checked my watch. We were 40 minutes out from Dallas. I pulled out my phone. I wasn't on the plane's Wi-Fi. It goes through the corporate server, which Travis monitors. I was using a portable satellite hotspot I keep in my bag. Slow, expensive, but completely untraceable. I logged into the encrypted messaging app. User, Ghost Actual 2. FAA Watchdog 01 message. Target is active. Admission of guilt regarding legacy parts on Omega contract recorded verbally. Physical evidence on person, USB drive, right pocket, initiating Protocol 7 Alpha upon descent. The reply came 10 seconds later. User, FAA Watchdog 01 message, Protocol 7 Alpha authorized. Ground team is staging. Do not engage until wheels down unless safety is compromised. Note, Travis Lang just flagged in the system. He attempted a remote login to the maintenance server 5 minutes ago. He's trying to scrub the logs remotely. I smiled. I was trying to cover his tracks because I had spooked him. But he was too late. The logs he was scrubbing were the decoys I had planted in the system months ago before I left. The real logs were on a hard drive in a safety deposit box in Austin. He was scrubbing a ghost. "Hey," Miles said, leaning over. "Who are you texting? Your boyfriend? Tell him you're sitting next to a future CEO." I looked at Miles. I looked at the little bead of sweat rolling down his temple. "I'm texting my travel agent," I said. "Booking a surprise for you." "Oh yeah?" Miles grinned. "Strippers?" "Something like that," I said. "Lots of flashing lights. You'll love it." Travis was agitated. My comment about breaking his neck and the technical jargon had unsettled him. He opened his laptop. I saw him furiously typing, his brows furrowed. He was trying to access the company network. "Damn it," he muttered. "Server is lagging." He hit the call button again. Sarah appeared instantly. She was enjoying this now. She knew the power dynamic had shifted, even if she didn't know the full scope. "Yes, Mr. Lang, the Wi-Fi is throttling me. I need the priority code," Travis demanded. "The crew bandwidth." "I'm sorry, sir, that bandwidth is reserved for flight operations and safety communications only," Sarah recited perfectly. "I am the Senior VP of Fleet Ops," Travis hissed. "I am Safety Communications." "Give me the code." "Cannot do that, sir. It's against federal regulations to share the crew network key with passengers." Travis's face turned a shade of purple that matched his tie. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a lanyard. It wasn't his standard corporate ID. It was a red badge with a metallic chip, an all-access tarmac security badge, the kind that gets you into secure server rooms, cockpits, and bypassing TSA. "Do you see this?" Travis growled, waving the badge in her face. "This is a level 5 override. I authorize myself. Now go tell the captain to open the port, or I will have your job before we land." Sarah hesitated. She looked terrified. That badge was serious business. Using it to get faster Wi-Fi to scrub illegal logs, that was a felony. I needed that badge number. I lifted my phone, pretending to take a selfie. "Ugh, the lighting in here is terrible," I said loudly, angling the phone so Travis and the badge were in the background. Click. I checked the photo, crystal clear. The ID number on the red badge was visible. "Sir," I said, dropping the phone, "you're scaring the flight attendant. Is that really necessary?" Travis whipped his head toward me. "Shut up. You have no idea what is happening here." "I think I do," I said calmly. "You're trying to bypass the firewall because you're worried about what the auditors are going to find in the morning. You're bullying the crew to do it." Travis went still. The silence in the cabin was deafening, louder than the engines. "Who are you?" he whispered. "You're not a deadhead. You're not support staff." He stood up. He was big and he was cornered. "Miles, get her phone." "What?" Miles blinked, looking up from his empty glass. "She took a picture." "Get her phone, now," Travis shouted. Miles scrambled up, clumsy and aggressive. "Give it here, lady." This was it, the physical confrontation. I didn't move. I stayed seated, buckled in. "Miles," I said, my voice dropping an octave into pure command. "If you touch me or my property, you will be committing federal assault aboard an aircraft." That carries a mandatory 10-year sentence. Sit down. Miles hesitated. He looked at Travis. He looked at me. The fear of prison battled with the fear of his boss. She's bluffing, Travis yelled. Grab it, Miles lunged. I didn't strike him. I didn't need to. I simply unbuckled, stood up in one fluid motion, and utilized a simple wrist lock I learned in SEER training. I twisted his arm behind his back and shoved him face first into the leather seat. Oh, Jesus, my arm, Miles screamed. I told you, I said, leaning close to his ear. I'm not a tourist. I shoved him back into his seat. Sarah, I called out. Yes, Captain, Sarah responded automatically. Travis heard it. Captain. His face went pale. Blood drained out of him so fast he looked like a wax figure. He collapsed back into his seat. Monroe, he whispered. Rachel Monroe. Hello, Travis, I said, enjoying the flight? The intercom crackled. Cabin crew, prepare for landing. We are on final approach. I sat back down. I smoothed my denim jacket. You might want to put that badge away, Travis. Although I already sent the photo to the FBI, so I guess it doesn't matter. Travis stared at me, didn't speak. He looked like a man watching his own execution. While the plane descended through the cloud layer over Dallas, let me explain how we got here. After Travis buried my report and reassigned me, I didn't just sulk. I went to work, but I didn't go to HR. HR works for the company. HR protects the company from you. I went to the FAA, but here's the catch. The FAA moves at the speed of government, which is to say, glacial. If I just filed a report, Travis would have years to bury it, bribe people, or fix the evidence. I needed to catch him in the act. I needed a hot crime. I spent my nights going through the trash, digital and physical. I cultivated contacts. I found out about the Omega contract. I found out about the legacy parts scheme. But it was all hearsay. I needed him to attempt a breach. I worked with a contact at the Department of Homeland Security, set up a conditional watch list entry for Travis Lang. It's a special kind of hell. It means you're allowed to fly, unless a flight crew member flags suspicious behavior in real time. If that flag is thrown, the status changes from monitor to detain. It's a trapwire, and Travis just tripped it. By flashing that unauthorized Level 5 badge, he committed a specific crime. Attempted interference with flight crew operations using falsified credentials. Ordering Miles to take my phone, he added conspiracy to commit assault. And the kicker, the legacy parts conversation. I didn't just hear it. My iPad wasn't off. It was recording, high-fidelity audio, every word about the titanium, every boast from Miles, every crooked instruction from Travis. I had sent the audio file to the cloud the moment we hit 10,000 feet. It was already in the inbox of the Inspector General. I looked at Travis, sweating profusely now. He knew who I was. He knew he had underestimated the tired woman in 4A. He thought he had crushed me 6 months ago. He thought I was just a mechanic who got lucky with a pilot's license. He didn't know that I have a master's in aviation law. He didn't know that I spent my weekends reading the code of federal regulations for fun. You can't prove anything, Travis muttered, but his voice lacked conviction. It's your word against mine. I'm an executive. You're a disgruntled employee. I'm not an employee right now, Travis, I said calmly. I'm a witness, and I'm a federal flight deck officer. That got him. FFDO are pilots deputized by the government to carry weapons and make arrests to defend the cockpit. I wasn't carrying today, can't when you're deadheading in plain clothes without the kit, but the authority remains. And I added, pointing to the ceiling. There are cameras in this cabin. Did you forget? Had them installed to monitor the staff, to make sure they weren't stealing the expensive scotch. Travis looked up at the tiny black dome in the bulkhead. He looked back at me. He looked sick. You set me up, he hissed. No, I said. I just sat in a seat. You did the rest. That's the beauty of it, Travis. You're so arrogant, so convinced of your own invincibility, that you didn't even check who was sitting 3 feet away from you before you confessed to a felony. Miles was sobbing quietly in the window seat. I'm just an intern, he whimpered. I didn't do anything. I just wanted a job. You wanted to be a big dog, I said coldly. Well, welcome to the kennel. The landing gear thunked down. The wind noise increased. We were 5 minutes from touchdown. I unbuckled. Sit down, Travis yelled. We're landing. I have work to do, I said. I walked up the aisle. Sarah stepped aside, looking at me with awe. I knocked on the cockpit door. Specific knock. The door clicked open electronically. I stepped into the flight deck. The sudden change in noise, the hum of the avionics, the radio chatter, washed over me like a baptism. Captain Reynolds was in the left seat, First Officer Chang in the right. They turned to look at me. Captain Monroe, Reynolds said. He was an older guy, ex-Navy, solid. We got the message. The ghost is in the machine. He flashed a level 5 badge, Bob, I said. He ordered the intern to assault me. Reynolds whistled low. Level 5? I don't even have a level 5. That's board of directors stuff or stolen. Stolen, I confirmed, or counterfeited, same as his airplane parts. Tower just cleared us for the remote apron, Chang said, tapping the FMS. Police are waiting. FBI too. Good, I said. I'm initiating the blacklist protocol. Code red. Code red confirmed, Reynolds said. He toggled the radio. Tower. This is Gulfstream 6 Alpha Yankee. We are declaring a security situation on board. Requesting immediate law enforcement meet at the stand. Passenger in 4 Bravo is non-compliant and holds unauthorized security credentials. Copy that, 6 Alpha Yankee. Police are rolling. I stood in the jump seat area behind them as we touched down. The tires screeched against the concrete. The reverse thrusters roared. It was the sound of justice. I looked through the cockpit door window back into the cabin. Travis was frantically texting. Miles was wiping his nose on his sleeve. They thought they were landing in Dallas. They were landing in a nightmare. Nice landing, Bob, I said as we slowed to taxi speed. Thanks, Rachel, he grinned. You want to do the honors? Oh, absolutely, I said. I reached for my bag in the closet. I pulled out my pilot's hat. I put it on. I pulled out my uniform jacket, one with the 4 gold stripes on the sleeves. I slipped it on over my denim shirt. It was a bit of a weird look, jeans and a captain's blazer, but it sent the message. We rolled to a stop. The engines spooled down. I saw the flashing lights of 3 squad cars and 2 black SUVs surrounding the jet. I opened the cockpit door and stepped back into the cabin. The cabin was silent as the engines whined down into nothingness. The air vents hissed. Travis and Miles were staring out the window at the armada of police cars. What is this? Travis demanded, standing up. Why are there police? He turned and saw me. He saw the hat. He saw the gold stripes, 4 of them, Captain. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. It was like his brain had finally stripped a gear. Captain, Miles squeaked. You're a pilot. I am the pilot, I corrected. I am the captain of the Boeing 777. You fly on your international vacations, Miles. I am the person responsible for your life when you're 35,000 feet over the Atlantic. I walked toward them. I felt 10 feet tall. Travis Lang, I said, my voice echoing in the small cabin. You are under arrest for violation of Federal Aviation Regulations, Part 1542, possession of counterfeit security credentials, conspiracy to defraud the U.S. government, and assault on a federal flight deck officer. You can't do this, Travis stammered. He looked small now. The shark had become the bait. I'm the VP. I sign your checks. Not anymore, I said. The cabin door opened. 2 FBI agents in windbreakers and 3 airport police officers stormed in. Travis Lang, the lead agent, barked. Travis put his hands up. This is a misunderstanding. This woman is crazy. It's a disgruntled mechanic. She's a credible witness, Mr. Lang, the agent said, slapping cuffs on him. And we've been listening to your audio recording for the last 20 minutes. Historical trail, we're going to have a long talk about that. Travis looked at me as they dragged him past. There was no anger left in his eyes, just shock. He had built a world where he was untouchable, where rules were for other people. And I had just burned it down with a cell phone and a denim jacket. They went for Miles. Wait, I'm just an intern. Miles screamed as the cop grabbed his arm, the same arm I had twisted. I didn't know, he told me to do it. You can tell it to the judge, kid, the cop said, and give me that USB drive. Miles reached into his pocket and handed it over, trembling. The smoking gun, you blocked me. Miles yelled at me as he was shoved toward the door. You blocked my career. I saved you from becoming him, I said, pointing at Travis's retreating back. You should thank me. He didn't thank me, he cried. The cabin cleared out. It was just me, Sarah, and the pilots. Sarah looked at me. That was the most badass thing I have ever seen. I took off my hat. I felt the adrenaline crash starting to hit. My hands shook slightly. It was a good flight, I said, a bit bumpy. But we landed. I stood on the tarmac and watched the black SUVs drive away. The flashing lights faded into the Dallas smog. It was over. Travis Lang was done. The FBI raid on his office was probably happening right now. They'd find the fake logs, the emails, the bribes. He'd do time. Real time. Federal pound-me-in-the-ass prison, as they say in the movies. Miles was finished before he started. He'd never work in aviation. He'd probably go back to his dad's hedge fund and tell stories about how he was cancel cultured by a crazy feminist pilot. Let him talk. Industry knows, the industry talks. He's radioactive. I walked back up the stairs to grab my bag. You okay, Rachel? Captain Reynolds asked. He was filling out the logbook. Yeah, I said. Just tired, Bob, just tired. You going to report this flight time? He joked. Nope, I said. I was just a passenger, seat 4A. I left the airport. I didn't go home. I went to a hotel near the airport, the kind with heavy curtains and a bar that stays open late. I checked in. I went to my room. I didn't turn on the lights. I just walked to the window and looked out at the runway lights, the endless stream of planes taking off and landing, the red and white strobes piercing the darkness. I poured a glass of whiskey from the minibar. It was cheap stuff, not the single malt Travis was drinking. It burned going down. It felt good. I opened my phone. The news was already breaking. Airline executive arrested in tarmac sting. Counterfeit parts ring busted. I scrolled down to the comments. User, Sky King 99. Finally, someone caught that guy. Heard rumors for years. User, Plain Jane. Who was the whistleblower hero? I put the phone down. I wasn't a hero. I was just a mechanic who knew that if you ignore the rust, the machine breaks. And I refused to let the machine break. I took another sip of whiskey. I thought about Miles and his fancy suit. I thought about Travis and his legacy parts. They thought the sky belonged to them because they bought the tickets. They forgot that the sky belongs to the people who keep the wings level. I raised my glass to the empty room. Clear skies, I whispered. I drank alone. The silence was perfect. No interns, no executives, just the hum of the air conditioner and the knowledge that tomorrow, when I put on my uniform, the planes would be safer. That was enough.
Careers are built on emails, but reputations are built on choices. Today's story showed how fast those choices come back around. I'm glad you stayed till the end. See you in the next one.